taking time out of your afternoon to talk to me. I'm really excited that you're here. And as I've mentioned to everybody, we are going to be doing a little deep dive, learning a little bit more about you, about your brand, and exploring what it means to be sustainable in the drinks industry. I'm no expert at the behind the scenes. I'm an expert drinker. That sounds really bad. I'm good at exploring wines and drinks and things like that, as are quite a lot of people across the UK. But you, sir, are an expert in what happens behind the scenes. So I'm super excited to be able to ask you some questions about that. So thank you again. Enough of me waffling on about everything, just in case I lose you. Let's dive in and get into the nitty gritty. So can you give everybody on this call a bit of an introduction to who you are and who is Sipful Drinks?
Yeah, Brill. Sipful Drinks is an impact-driven drinks brand specialising in canned organic wine and wine-based cocktails. How did Sipful come about? I was a brewer for over 10 years, my career growing up in the craft beer industry as kind of it started really popping. And one of those big things that happened in the craft beer industry was cans. And it was quite interesting time when they kind of came in, because those of us who kind of committed to them understood the value that they had in packaging a product up, fully sealed container, no light gets in. But then on the sustainability front, they're absolutely amazing as well. Like a Prosecco, a bottle of Prosecco weighs about 600 grams, whereas the same volume packaged in cans weighs about 32 grams. So you can imagine how much packaging waste is kind of, or CO2 involved in transportation, etc., is saved through that. I mean, 790 odd kilograms per 1,000 litres packaged of packaging waste is saved. I think also the aluminium got us because it's 100% recyclable, infinitely recyclable. And I think it's something about 74% of all aluminium ever produced in the world is still in production today. And I mean, we're doing really well in the UK in terms of recycling aluminium. We're getting up to 78% now, whereas sorry, I got my first fact wrong. 54% of all aluminium producers ever. It's 78% is now recycled in the UK. But Germany and Sweden, they're doing about 99%. So I was in love with the canned packaging format for drinks. But then when Emily, my wife, had a gluten intolerance, she could no longer drink beer. So we kind of looked around to see what else was out there. And when it comes to wine, it was pretty bad at best, and canned cocktails were kind of throwbacks to the 90s alcopop era. So mimosas were a household favorite of ours, so kind of that's where we set up shop, really.
Wow. So the story is one of both environmental frustration and personal curiosity, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, I suppose the environmental side very much comes from my upbringing. I grew up on a biodynamic farm, so sustainability was kind of common conversation growing up. And biodynamics, for those who don't know, is kind of the way that agriculture was developed pre-fertilizer, pre-war. So using rotational crop systems in order to be able to kind of keep the soil health. And I mean, soil health is like hot topic now. It's like the microbiome of food production, so it's really important to get it right. So yeah, that's that kind of biodynamic side. And then I've always wanted to kind of incorporate sustainability into all the businesses I've kind of tried to set up, and Sipful's the one that actually stuck. And I'm super excited to try and be the best we possibly can as a business, and try and show that sustainability can be business can be the force for positive change in the world. And I think you touched on the word regenerative. So sustainability is kind of, you get into an equilibrium and you stay like it is. But if we're really going to make impactful change on the planet, we need to actually get to sustainability plus, which is regenerative. So we need to be giving back.
I love this. And regenerative still, just like biodynamic, isn't a term that's in the public sphere right now. We all know about sustainability. We all appreciate and understand the idea of equilibrium, but this idea of it's not just leave no trace, it's almost leave a more positive trace than the one that you arrived to. So I love that that's something that you're doing in your business. And for you, how does that actually show up in practice?
It's colossal in terms of like it's a massive elephant that needs chopped up into tiny little pieces if we're going to get anywhere close to tackling it. So it's yeah, 2026. Sorry.
So it's a very savage analogy.
Well, it's a pretty savage problem to have to get over. It's where do you start? So yeah, it's basically it's about sustainability isn't simple. There's just loads of different compromises all the time that you need to make. And as a small startup business, you can't change the world in a day. And especially when you've got limited buying power of materials, and when you do, they're super expensive, but you can't sell it to the customer at that price. So you kind of just have to work your way up. But the important part behind it is to have a really solid plan, and also to have the support of key partners in order to be able to bring that plan to fruition. So for example, we're working with Future Plus now, and I think we're going to touch on BCorp later on.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it right now, since that's where we are. But do tell us, what is Future Plus?
So yeah, just kind of backtrack. Yeah, okay. Future Plus is basically a sustainability accreditation business, which is putting more metrics into the way that we measure our businesses in terms of. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack actually onto BCorp first. So BCorp is a fantastic accreditation. However, it's quite static in the fact that you get a BCorp stamp and you do a lot of work to get it, but at that point, it tells you where you are. But then you've got that stamp for 3 years, but you might be a lot further on in terms of your sustainability journey. However, you may have also gone downhill. For example, Brewdog got a BCorp stamp, and then they had a big employment fiasco, which probably wouldn't really get their BCorp stamp. So for me, that kind of doesn't allow businesses to really kind of progress. So what Future Plus do, they break it down into five different aspects: diversity, inclusion, environment, economic, social, and climate. So these 5 points are then you go through like 250 questions or something like that, and as a business, and then you answer them. Are you doing this? And you say yes, then you go on, then you have to produce the evidence for that. Or if you say no, then you have to go, are you going to do that 3, 6, 12 months? And you say 6 and you do it in 3, then you get your score goes up. Vice versa, if you don't hit your target, and your score will go down. So it's a very dynamic score, but it also allows other businesses, consumers, partners, for example, to see where you are on the scale. So for example, we're like 187 where we are currently out of 500. However, our aspirations are 380. So it gives you an idea of where you currently are, but where you're wanting to get to as a business, and having that backing behind us. And then behind that, they also give you lots of support and documents, and you're able to kind of really build up a full-on strategy for your sustainability approach. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with the kind of BCorp side, and we couldn't be happier. But there again, we need to kind of get Future Plus to a place where they is recognizable, because at the moment we wouldn't put BCorp aisle in a supermarket, because yeah, we're not part of that brand.
Right. That is absolutely fascinating, and I've been following the work of BCorp for quite a while, because a lot of the small brands that we work with want to be accredited. They want to be recognized because they're doing a hell of a lot behind the scenes, which is very hard to explain to a customer on the back of a label. You know, your font can only be so small before people lose interest. But the struggle with it is, like you said, it rewards larger companies that have more resources, that have potentially gone through these steps before, and it is also just a snapshot in time, rather than this idea of a journey, which is what sustainability is all about. As you've mentioned before, it's all about compromise, and what you might compromise on today would free you up with more resources to be able to whittle that down and get really tight on that in the future, rather than saying actually no, you can't you can't join the club because you failed on this point. It's like,
No, exactly.
yeah, a little bit more dynamic. So it's very interesting that you bring that up. And what needs to be done then for this award to be recognized and for consumers to really feel like this is something that they can put their trust into?
Yeah, that's a good point. I suppose Mike and Alex has set it up. They're extremely credible. If you go onto YouTube, Alex has just recently done a TED Talks, and Mike was ex-CEO of UNICEF. So I think they come with a great skill set, the two of them, and I think it is a little bit of a wild west out there because there's a few people coming, bringing accreditations in, but I think it will just kind of be a little bit. I think BCorp were very much first to the party, allowing them to get their elbows out and make quite a good space for themselves. However, I think there's a lot more dynamic systems coming into place, and I truly believe that Future Plus has got the toolkits to be able to kind of really push on through and kind of rise up above many of the others. I don't think they'll be the only one, but I certainly think they've hold a good chance of being up there.
Yeah. And I suppose you mentioned on your website.
Yeah.
Oh, no, continue. You go ahead. Go ahead.
The other thing with BCorp is like you were saying, there's a lot of resources that need to be piled into getting BCorp, and it's a very kind of like a lot of people get agents in to be able to do it for them because it's quite strenuous. Whereas with the Future Plus for small businesses like ourselves, you can build into them, but also corporates, they just need to do a lot more work to bring the information. So yeah. I'll stop. I'm talking about Sipful, not I'm banging the drum for Future Plus, but yeah.
No, I mean it's all part of it, isn't it? Really, because at the end of the day, I'm sitting here, an entity in the space, asking another, what are you doing about the planet, and who are we to say whether or not we're doing enough, quote unquote, because our world, our sphere of influence only goes so far at the moment, and without these more palatable, more rigorous assessments done by people that know way more potentially about the nuances of carbon capture and offsetting or any other tools that you might use, it does become it could, not that this conversation will, because we both do know our stuff, but this is where it goes into land of greenwashing, and you find people saying, oh yeah, I'm doing my bit, I recycle, and you think, what are you recycling? And they say, well, plastic, and you think, hang on, yes, plastic is recyclable technically, but in practice it's not. So these are all very valid points that you mentioned, and I think it's a great groundwork to initiate the conversation so we understand exactly what kind of business you're aspiring to become. Speaking of which, what is the main challenge that you are, what is your main mission within the drink sphere? Because you've touched on a few things about the packaging. There's also your history of growing up on a biodynamic farm. Like, where is the main pain point in the drinks industry, and how is Sipful becoming an antidote to that?
Well, I suppose that we kind of got started in 2018, 2019, at a time when RTDs weren't really a thing like they are now. So I think we're now part of a big movement, and I like in terms of the way people are drinking ready to drink beverages, which is great timing, I suppose. But also I do believe it's very much at a kind of similar point in which, not saying that we are completely linear, but the way craft beer took off, and it was very much kind of looking at trends from the US, but we're also got a much more kind of active outdoorsy lifestyle. So my wife and I used to go on music festivals, and we live in the Yorkshire Dales, so go out in the hills, and chucking cans in the back of your bag was just commonplace. But then when you got the products that were on the shelves, was they were super sweet, synthetic. And when we did our research for Sipful, we tasted more or less every widely available RTD on the shelf. And
hopefully not all in the same day.
we actually did. We only had we sips ourselves, like, so. But it was there wasn't very many that you could drink a few of, and just like, and the natural ingredient part, there wasn't anything like that. And I think coming from a craft beer background where it's very using natural ingredients majority of the time, and that's kind of what we're trying to emulate with Sipful, and also which wasn't there at the time. But now we're really lucky. There's some absolutely cracking brands emerging now, and we're kind of all growing the sector together. I think there's also a lot of brands coming through who are also really pushing to do the right thing and put quality and authenticity of flavour as the kind of forefront. So yeah, I'm pretty proud to be part of that kind of clan that's moving forward in the drink space. I think the other thing that really drives me, and what I see as a massive problem in the drinks industry, is waste. But that's also waste in bars, so on trade as well. And we've got quite a few exciting things that we're going to look to launch next year, which are really going to target music festivals and bars in terms of reducing waste quite significantly.
That sounds like something I want to ask about, but sounds like it might not be something you're willing to share just yet.
Yeah, no, we're kind of baking that one at the moment. So yeah, we need to keep. But yeah.
Well, we'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, sustainability is. Our products don't necessarily always fit for hospitality because they're in a can. So we're trying to find different ways of basically fitting into the hospitality sector with our products.
And it's such an interesting solution to a problem, as it's simple and elegant, and this is what I think is true across sustainability as a whole. It's taking things back to the way they should be originally. So it's natural ingredients that are grown organically, hopefully by 2025, I believe you have pledge or a goal to be entirely organic, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's products as they should be, no nasty chemicals, no extra sugar, no extra things, additives and things like that, in a can, which is infinitely recyclable, produces less carbon, is zero waste. It's it's blindingly obvious that it's just such a fantastic solution. It's so endearing and wonderful to hear that these brands are coming out with more solutions like this, although a bit more competition for you, which may or may not be a good thing. I was going to ask you, so the other night we did a sustainable wine tasting where we had people coming in to taste sustainable wines that were biodynamic, and the honest truth is they do taste different from wines that you buy in a store, and the taste is an acquired taste sometimes because it's quite minerally, it's quite earthy, it's very natural. Do you think there might be a similar barrier with drinks such as yours, in the sense that when people go and buy a tinny or something like that, they're kind of expecting something which they're only going to have one of before they initiate into something harder, perhaps? Is there going to be a barrier to entry in the way that we consume that sort of drink and the expectation of store-bought? Do you anticipate anything like that at all?
I think that's a super interesting one. I think it's probably two-pronged for Sipful. One is on the can aspect, and I think it's been a lot harder to convince the public to drink wine out of cans than I had anticipated. However, I was also brewing when everybody was questioning whether our beer was going to taste metallic because it was in a tin, and there was kind of people say that we are with the can where they were with the screw cap in the 90s. So everyone was kind of digging. The wine industry is horrendous for being stuck in tradition and saying, why do you do that? Well, it's because that's the way it's always been done. So I think it's going to be a harder change, I think, and we're going to really push hard for it. But I think the consumers coming through now, especially the kind of waves that craft beer have done for the can, are going to be much more accepted and rapidly so. The other point is, I'm going to go back to beer again, but when you're talking about the bio, I think it is an acquired taste sometimes, and the thing is, it doesn't always go well because they haven't always the preservatives in there in order to be able to. So then you have to make a little bit of a balance again. It's like, do you put a little bit of preservative in there, a bit more sulfites, or in order to be able to make sure that it lasts longer, or do you say no, we're actually going to waste 35% of this year's crop, which is a complete disaster in terms of sustainability. So you have, again, every sustainability is a little bit of a, but if you are then growing your product, your grapes, and looking after the soil and making sure that you haven't got a monoculture, and looking that your kind of the agriculture is inclusive of a diversity of species, and then I suppose that is that kind of focus point for me. So it's, and sometimes the problem with organics and biodynamics and getting that stamp is that they don't take everything into consideration, and it's, you get your hardliners who very much are kind of pushing for kind of the whole holistic side, but then if you're looking at the waste side as well, but when it comes to people accepting new flavors, and I saw that in the craft beer industry. In fact, I did it myself. When the first person gave me a sour beer, if anyone's had a sour beer, you know what I mean. If you're expecting something more beer tasting, it's a slap around the face, and you're like, how could you do that to my taste? But then now I'm like the biggest sour fan in the world, and I'll beeline over any IPA for a good sour. So people do get over it, and it's about also accepting something for what is not as well. Like so just, that's not exactly the wine I'm usually used to, and that therefore I'm going to accept it as something different. Yeah, I think that's my answer.
I love that, and I think that's the other part about this sustainability journey, is every day we're getting to a new normal, a new place where innovation is happening, change is happening. You know, we all know something has to give. And to be honest, I would rather acclimatize and enjoy something that's fresh, something that's vibrant, something that I feel good when I drink because I know the history, as well as enjoy a new taste. You know, that's how drinks should be. That's how drinks should taste. So when you're tasting this minerally juicy freshness, and it's not a slap around the face or what you're used to, I think that's personally a good thing. So I think it's really fascinating what you're doing. And speaking of taste, what do you offer? You've mentioned mimosas. Like, tell us a little bit about your actual range.
So currently we've got we started off straight out of the gate with a canned white wine. It's a very crisp, clean, sessionable white wine from Spain, from La Mancha. And then because we kind of wanted to keep it as simple as possible to launch, we then launched with our cocktails in the same size. So we use that organic wine for all of our products, all three of our other products, which is mimosa, an orange mimosa. So the blood orange is a little bit sharper and tartar. The orange mimosa is kind of exactly as you'd expect if you pour orange juice and wine into a glass. That's kind of where we kind of put the line of where we wanted to get to, and I'm pretty confident we got pretty close. Like, so and then the other one's a peach Bellini that just won a Great Taste Award, and is really all about trying to get balance into there and authenticity of flavor, so that you feel like you're drinking the real deal. And well, you are drinking the real deal. It's orange juice and wine, and peach and wines. Yeah, so that's basically our range at the moment. Next year we're gonna expand our organic wine range, and we're also going to be adding a sangria to our cocktail list. So that's going to be that's going to be 2 core ranges. But just like in craft beer, like we're doing craft beer do like specials and one-offs with people all the time. So that's what we are going to be playing around with as well, working with different businesses, with different growers, and just playing around with flavor. Always going to be wine based, but 0% as well. We've selected a really lovely 0% wine from Spain, which is weirdly good tasting considering it's got an alcohol in it. So there's a lot of things we're playing with.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounds incredible. The branding is spot on, and I have to resist from scrolling down your Instagram feed because it really does make me want to reach in the fridge for a cold can of something, which at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is not appropriate. Everyone watching, it's not appropriate.
Mimosas are arguably like brunch drinks. So it's you take
That's
it.
Yeah, 11 a.m. onwards is acceptable for the bleeding. That's you heard it here first. And the one question I wanted to ask before I begin to tidy and wrap this up, this has just been so fascinating. I have still a million questions, but was just curious about your process for selecting the growers and where the wines come from. How on earth do you have you isolated it down to this one particular vineyard in Spain?
To be honest, it's a journey. It's a journey we've just started. So unfortunately, we're not absolutely able to kind of go exactly to the final fruit people at the moment. However, we did get to the co-op and where we selected the wine, and we selected the wine first on taste. It was just super crisp, dry, simple, sessionable, and that's what we wanted. It's not the wine you take over to the mother-in-law's for a Sunday roast and you kind of break down. It's for celebrating in the occasion. It's complementing the moment rather than being the moment. So that's where we got the wine, and then the fruit, we're just working with a local or a UK supplier at the moment. However, this is the big mission, and why we need to be driving our volume, and that's why we're looking to work with supermarkets, although they're not the easiest people to get along with all the time, or even try to get the buyers to the tables. However, if be able to get volume in order to be able to start cutting out the middle guys, so that we can then justify going to farm and getting the best fruit, and then also all our mitigating measures that we're putting in, for example, whether it be carbon or also going through the Future Plus program, we're needing to look at the way citrus growing is horrendous for undermining people's social situations. So we need to be going to the farms and make we are upholding our own integrity. So by being able to secure a whole supply chain, we'll be able to kind of quantify, mitigate against the impacts we're having, but also support those people and those businesses, growers and producers of being better as well. And that's when we are start becoming regenerative. But only until then, we're kind of just trying to make the best decisions we possibly can at our current position until we're got the volume which we can do otherwise.
So it's almost like economies of scale. Once you start getting the buy-in from the larger distributors, getting that traction in the market, getting over this wine in a can, British upper lip thing, that's when we can start to see a real change through your supply chain, all the good that can do, but also on the consumer side as well, because shifting in these tastes and these trends means globally those sorts of attitudes should start shifting overall. So it's amazing what you can do. Just one drink could change the world. So I know where I'm going to be getting my case for Christmas. And for I love what you just said about sessionable. That's a word that I'm going to use forevermore. And also it complementing the occasion rather than being the occasion. I think that's just such a, that really resonated with me. So I really like that. It's really, really, really good. And is there anything else that you want to mention that I haven't touched upon, either in your supply chain or other things that you are looking to achieve over the next year, or you'd just like to share with us? Is there anything that I've missed?
I guess I think you were talking about kind of like how to kind of vet companies, I suppose, and like how sustainable are you? Like there's so many claims out there at the moment, and I can't say I really know the answer, but I think it's just dive into that company, find out a little bit more about them, just look at where the founders or the people behind their businesses they come from, and then I think you usually kind of can find out the direction they're going, or the intent that they have is genuine, or if it's just marketing spiel in order to be able to join the bandwagon. And I think only time will tell, and more accreditations come out, and you're able to kind of really trust in some of them and maybe not so much the other. That's when we're going to really be able to lean on those a lot harder for our consumer decisions. But yeah, other than that, I think we've covered most of it. And I'd love to kind of I don't know if anyone's had any questions while we're on the chat.
Yeah, if you have a question that you would like to ask about sustainability in the drinks industry, Sipful specifics, what it's like actually running a drinks business, an alcoholic drinks business. Your guys' office parties must just be the best, honestly. It's just open door, right? I'm thinking. Something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you hiring?
Well, hopefully soon. So we're actually just about to go in for a Seeders raise. So we're capital, unfortunately, something that is needed in order to be able to kind of really step it up and get to that next level now. So we're going to be going live on Seeders in a few weeks' time on a crowdfunding campaign. So if anyone's interested in having a little bit of equity in an ambitious, impact-driven drinks brand, keep your eye out on Seeders, and that's really going to give us the fuel in the tank, really, to kind of make 2022 a real success. It's 2021 and it's been a bit odd.
For all, from 2019 to now, I feel like what's happened? Where are we? So yeah, that sounds like an incredible year ahead. You're going to be working with festivals, you're going to be working with bars, you're going to be changing the landscape of how the British drink their drinks, as well as raising money and taking further ownership of your supply chain. So the impact you have not only is even more quantifiable, but also is just far further ranging and more impactful overall. So it does sound absolutely remarkable. And where can people try, buy, enjoy, follow, engage? Where can we do all that with you?
You can do that through our own website, Sipful Drinks, sipful-drinks.com. You can get it from Whole Foods if you're in London and surrounding areas. If you're at home and you've got Ocado nearby, we're in Ocado. And we've got a few Morrisons up north here in Yorkshire and Lancashire. Where else? And there's like loads of independents as well who stock us, quite a few down in London, and Lancashire as well, and Leeds, lots of Leeds.
Spreading out. I like it. It sounds really, really exciting, and I can't wait for the day where I'm just running for the train at Waterloo and I can pop into Marks and Spencer's and just grab a tinny for the road and it's a Sipful. That'd be unless you're already there. Are you already there?
If anyone knows the buyer for Marks and Spencer's, please send me an email. That'd be great.
Yeah, buyer's information always needed. But one final question from me before I let you go, and that's just asking your advice to anybody listening who is anticipating purchasing alcohol for the upcoming festive season, a celebration, birthday, holiday. Where do they go to get, obviously, other than Sipful, which should 100% be the number one, but let's say they haven't accessed it, what should they hands down try and avoid, or where does one go to find more sustainable drinks?
I think places like yourself is a good place to start. Like, there's lots of kind of focused shops on sustainability, I suppose. I think we're currently part of a basket it goes out into hospitality to sell our products, and we're working with some really lovely spirits brands, Lost Year's rum, Sapling vodka, and they're going to kill me now. It's Copper King, that's it. And they are really, really lovely. And Copper King's got their own distillery, which has got solar panels riddled across the top. They're actually carbon positive, but genuinely so. They're not just kind of planting the forest to get out of it. They're really, really pushing hard on their whole operation. I guess trying to go straight to source is obviously quite a good way to go as well. It really helps small businesses out, and you often got better selection there as well. And the supplier gets a really good margin from it as well, which is the life business, and also of reinvesting and doing the right thing as well. So go buy from small businesses, because they are the lifeblood of what's kind of next revolution that comes through for sustainability.
Next revolution. I love it. And we did have a question here. Do you ship to Europe? Do you ship to Germany or abroad?
Pop me over an email. I can get a quote for you and we'll see. But at the moment, it's not something we offer through our website. But pop me over an email, Darius at sipful-drinks.com, and I'll get you a quote.
Amazing. How fantastic. Yes. I mean, the sooner you expand nationwide and globally, the better, I think, because your branding's gorgeous. Your values are on point. Everything that you have said has really come across in a way where it's totally clear that you're incredibly passionate about what you do. And as you've just said, small businesses really put their heart on their sleeves when it comes to these sorts of things, and they create products with purpose, with impact. And the more you spend with them, the better that impact can be, and the longer our planet can last in a state of glorious abundance. Don't we all want that? That would be something I would drink to every day of the week. I would be useless to everyone, but it would be glorious. So thank you so much, Darius, for coming on and joining us. As we've said, go and buy and shop with them, Sipful-Drinks.com. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Yes. Got that right. And if you are looking to purchase bulk wholesale for Christmas parties, weddings, festivities, I'm sure Darius will also be very keen to hear from you. So just follow Sipful Drinks on Instagram, pop them an email, sign up to their newsletter and buy their drinks, and enjoy what is the future of sustainable sparkling wine in a can. So thank you so much again for joining us. And cocktails, I should say, cocktails too. I'm certainly feel very thirsty talking about all of this, but it's a pleasure to have you with us, and yeah, we look forward to having you again on next year after we catch up with all your festivals and everything that you're doing to reduce waste in bars as well.
Thank you very much. No, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been so fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you everyone for coming and watching, and follow Sipful on Instagram, catch up with them, Sipful-Drinks.com, and we will see you again on here very soon. Thank you all and have a good day.